You don't belong in first class. Those were the last words Patricia Caldwell spoke before she made the biggest mistake of her career. In the middle of a crowded JFK terminal, surrounded by cameras and shocked passengers, a senior flight attendant tore up a boarding pass belonging to a quiet woman in a hoodie. She thought she was protecting the airline from a fraud. She didn't know she was humiliating the only person who could fire her father. What happens when arrogance meets the ultimate authority? You are about to witness a masterclass in karma. This is the story of Maya Sterling and the flight that changed everything. The air inside JFK International Airport's Terminal 4 was thick with the scent of overpriced coffee and the palpable stress of holiday travel. Outside, a biting December wind whipped against the glass, but inside, the climate was controlled, sterile, and chaotic. Maya Sterling adjusted the strap of her canvas duffel bag. To the untrained eye, she looked like a college student heading home for the break, or perhaps a backup dancer who had just finished a grueling rehearsal. She wore a slate gray, oversized hoodie, matching sweatpants, and a pair of worn-in sneakers. Her hair was pulled back into a messy bun, secured by a simple black scrunchie. There were no logos on her chest, no flash of diamonds on her fingers, and she wore no makeup. However, a trained eye, one that knew the texture of wealth rather than just the flash of it, would have noticed details that screamed old money. The hoodie was not cotton, but a cashmere silk blend from Loro Piana, retailing for more than most people's monthly rent. The canvas bag was a vintage Hermes, a rare piece from the 1990s that collectors would kill for. And the worn-in sneakers were a limited edition collaboration that had sold out in seconds. But Patricia Caldwell, the senior flight attendant manning the priority boarding gate for Royal Horizon Airlines Flight 882 to London, did not have a trained eye. She had a judgmental one. Patricia had been with Royal Horizon for 22 years. She wore her navy blue uniform like a suit of armor, the gold wings pinned to her chest, gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Her hair was a helmet of hairspray, blonde and immovable. She stood at the podium with her spine rigid, her eyes scanning the approaching passengers like a hawk searching for field mice. To Patricia, the world was divided into two categories: those who belonged in the front of the plane and those who belonged in the back. And she considered herself the gatekeeper. "Boarding for first and business class will begin in 5 minutes," Patricia announced into the microphone, her voice crisp and clipped. She dropped the receiver and turned to her junior colleague, Sarah, a nervous young woman in her first year of service. "Keep an eye on the upgrade list, Sarah," Patricia muttered, not bothering to lower her voice. "We have a full flight today. I don't want any economy passengers trying to sneak into the priority lane. The riffraff is particularly bold this time of year." Sarah nodded, keeping her head down. She had learned early on that arguing with Patricia was futile. Patricia was the kind of person who memorized the rulebook just to weaponize it. Maya Sterling approached the podium. She was tired. She had just flown in from a site inspection in Tokyo and had a 3-hour layover in New York before heading to London for a board meeting. She wasn't supposed to be flying commercial today. Her father, Arthur Sterling, the founder and majority shareholder of Royal Horizon Airlines, usually insisted she take the corporate jet. But the jet was undergoing maintenance in Teterboro, and Maya, practical to a fault, had insisted on catching the next available commercial flight. She just wanted to sleep. She walked up to the velvet rope separating the first-class lane from the rest of the terminal. Patricia looked up. Her eyes narrowed instantly. She saw the messy hair. She saw the hoodie. She saw the dark skin and the lack of jewelry. "Excuse me, miss," Patricia said, her voice dripping with a sickly sweet condescension. "The economy line is over there, by the food court. This area is for first-class and diamond status members only." Maya stopped. She blinked, shaking off the jet lag. She offered a polite, tired smile. "I know, I'm on this flight." Patricia let out a short, incredulous huff. She stepped out from behind the podium, crossing her arms over her chest. She blocked the entrance to the lane physically. "Miss, I don't think you heard me," Patricia said, louder this time, drawing the attention of a businessman in a suit standing nearby. "This is first class. Tickets here cost upwards of $10,000. Please move along before I have to call security for loitering." Maya sighed. She reached into her pocket. "I have a ticket," she said calmly. "If you'd just let me scan it." "I don't need to scan a fake ticket to know you're in the wrong place," Patricia snapped. The noise of the terminal seemed to dip. People loved a spectacle, and Patricia was providing one. Maya paused. This wasn't the first time she had been profiled. It happened in boutiques in Paris and hotels in Milan. But it rarely happened on her own father's airline. Royal Horizon prided itself on excellence in hospitality. This was not excellence. "My name is Maya Sterling," she said, her voice steady. "I am in seat 1A. Please check your manifest." Patricia laughed. It was a harsh, barking sound. "Seat 1A? Honey, seat 1A is reserved for VIPs. We usually keep it blocked for diplomats or, well, people who actually pay. You expect me to believe you're sitting in the flagship suite dressed like you're going to the gym? Clothes don't determine the ticket," Maya said, her patience thinning. "Check the manifest." "I don't have to check anything," Patricia hissed, leaning in close. "I've been doing this for 20 years. I know a scammer when I see one. You bought a counterfeit pass online, or you're trying to use a stolen screenshot. Now, walk away." Maya held out her phone, the QR code for her boarding pass bright on the screen. "Scan it." Patricia stared at the phone, then at Maya. The audacity of this girl offended her. In Patricia's mind, she was protecting the sanctity of the first-class cabin. She was the hero. "You want me to handle this?" Patricia asked, a sneer curling her lip. She snatched the phone from Maya's hand. "Hey!" Maya stepped forward. "Give that back." "I'm confiscating this evidence," Patricia announced to the room. She looked at the screen, saw the name Maya Sterling in seat 1A, and shook her head. "Maya Sterling. Right. And I'm the Queen of England. You probably stole this phone, too." Patricia tapped the screen aggressively, attempting to exit the app, but her fingers were clumsy with rage. Instead, she saw the boarding pass was a PDF file. "You know what we do with fake tickets?" Patricia asked. She didn't wait for an answer. She didn't scan it. She didn't call a manager. She looked Maya dead in the eye, and with a dramatic flourish, she deleted the file from the screen. Then, realizing that wasn't physical enough, she grabbed the printed boarding pass that Maya had tucked into the front pocket of her bag, the backup copy Maya always carried. "This," Patricia said, holding up the paper ticket. Maya's eyes went cold. "Don't do it. Re-ip." The sound was sharp and loud. Patricia tore the boarding pass down the middle. Then she tore it again. She threw the confetti-like pieces onto the pristine airport carpet. "Now," Patricia smiled, dusting off her hands. "Get out of my line." For a solid 10 seconds, nobody moved. The paper fragments of the first-class boarding pass settled on the floor like snow. The businessman in the suit behind Maya had his mouth slightly open. Sarah, the junior flight attendant, looked as though she might faint. She had seen Patricia be rude before, but destroying a passenger's ticket, even a suspected fake one, was a violation of federal transport regulations, not to mention company policy. Maya looked down at the torn paper, then back up at Patricia. Her expression had shifted. The tiredness was gone, replaced by a razor-sharp focus. She didn't yell. She didn't scream. She went unnervingly quiet. "You shouldn't have done that," Maya said softly. "I do what is necessary to keep this airline safe," Patricia retorted, feeling a surge of adrenaline. She turned to the growing line of first-class passengers. "I apologize for the delay, ladies and gentlemen. We just had to deal with a security issue. We'll be boarding shortly." "I'm not a security issue," Maya said, not moving an inch. She picked up her bag and set it down on the podium, right next to Patricia's computer. "And I'm not leaving." "Sarah," Patricia barked, "call airport police. Now, tell them we have a belligerent passenger refusing to vacate the boarding area." Sarah hesitated, her hand hovering over the phone. She looked at Maya. There was something about the way Maya stood shoulders back, chin high, that didn't fit the narrative of a scammer. Scammers ran when they were caught. They didn't dig in. "Ma'am," Sarah squeaked, addressing Patricia, "maybe we should just check the computer? If her name is in the system." "Don't you dare undermine me," Patricia snapped, her face flushing red. "I know her type. If you check the computer, you're just entertaining her delusion. She's stalling. Look at her. Does she look like she belongs in a $5,000 suite? Does she look like she knows what a salad fork is?" A murmur of discomfort rippled through the line of passengers. A woman in a Chanel blazer stepped forward. "Excuse me," she said to Patricia, "but you really should just check." Tearing the ticket was extreme. "I am protecting your comfort, ma'am," Patricia said, switching back to her customer service voice, though the venom was still palpable. "These people try to sneak in, They get loud, they disturb the cabin. I am nipping it in the bud. These people? Maya repeated. The temperature in her voice dropped another 10 degrees. Care to clarify what you mean by that? Patricia realized she might have slipped. She straightened her jacket. People who can't afford the fare. People who try to game the system. I bought that ticket, Maya said. Full fare. Paid yesterday. Liar, Patricia spat. Security is on the way. Maya reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out a second phone. A sleek, black satellite phone that looked more military grade than consumer tech. It was the device she used for secure communications with the board. Patricia scoffed. Who are you calling? Your boyfriend to come beat me up? Maya ignored her. She dialed a number from memory. She didn't put it on speaker, but the terminal was quiet enough that those nearby could hear. David? Maya said into the phone. It's Maya. I'm at the gate, gate B32. No, I'm not on the plane. I'm being denied boarding. She paused, listening. By the gate agent. Her name is? Maya squinted at the silver name tag on Patricia's chest. Patricia Caldwell. She tore up my boarding pass. She's calling the police on me. Patricia rolled her eyes, playing to the crowd. Oh, listen to the drama, David. Probably her Uber driver. Maya continued, her eyes locked on Patricia. No, don't come out yet. I want to see how this plays out. But tell the flight deck to hold. Do not close the doors. I repeat, do not close the doors. Maya hung up and slid the phone back into her pocket. Patricia burst out laughing. It was a cruel, cackling sound. You want us to hold the flight? For you? Sweetheart, this is a Boeing 777, not a crosstown bus. We fly on a schedule. And that schedule does not include waiting for delusional girls in sweatpants. Patricia grabbed the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now boarding first class. Please have your boarding passes ready. And please step around the obstruction. She gestured at Maya as if she were a pile of garbage. 2 Port Authority police officers came jogging down the concourse, their radios crackling. Patricia's face lit up with triumph. Finally, she said, Officers, over here. The officers, burly men named Miller and Kowalski, slowed to a walk as they approached the podium. They looked at the scene, the scattered paper on the floor, the line of wealthy passengers looking awkward, and the small woman in the hoodie standing her ground against the fuming flight attendant. What seems to be the problem? Officer Miller asked, thumbs hooked in his vest. This woman, Patricia pointed a manicured finger at Maya, is trespassing. She attempted to board with a fraudulent ticket, and when I confiscated it, she became aggressive. She is refusing to leave the secure area and is disrupting the flight operations. I want her removed. Immediately. Miller turned to Maya. He sized her up. He saw a young black woman in casual clothes. He sighed. Miss, you need a valid ticket to be here, Miller said, his tone bored but firm. If the airline says you don't fly, you don't fly. I have a ticket, Maya said. She tore it up. Miller looked at the floor. Is that true? He asked Patricia. It was a fake, Patricia shouted. I destroyed a fraudulent document. That is standard procedure for intercepted forgeries. It wasn't a forgery, Maya said. And she didn't check the computer. Miss, let's go, Officer Kowalski said, stepping into Maya's personal space. He reached for her arm. We can sort this out at the station. You're causing a scene. Maya took a step back, avoiding his touch. I am not going anywhere until my ticket is verified. Ask her to check the manifest. It takes 10 seconds. If my name isn't there, I will walk away in handcuffs voluntarily. Kowalski looked at Patricia. Can you just check? So we can get this over with? Patricia huffed. She felt cornered, but she was so certain of her victory that she decided to indulge them. It would be the final nail in this girl's coffin. Fine, Patricia said dramatically. I will prove to everyone that she is lying. She hammered her fingers onto the keyboard. She typed in Sterling. She expected the screen to show no record found or perhaps highlight a mismatched name. The system loaded. Patricia's eyes scanned the list. 1. Sterling. Maya. Status. VIP. Owner priority. Notes. Do not offload. Corporate HQ alert. The color drained from Patricia's face so fast it looked like a curtain falling. The text on the screen was flashing red, a specific code used for only the highest-ranking individuals associated with the airline. It was a code she had seen maybe twice in her career, usually for celebrities or senators. But the name Sterling, it clicked. Finally, after 20 minutes of arrogance, the synapses in Patricia's brain connected. Arthur Sterling, the man whose picture hung in the crew break room, the man who signed her paychecks. Patricia stared at the screen, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. "Well?" Officer Miller asked. "Is she on the list?" Patricia couldn't speak. Her throat had gone dry. She looked up at Maya. The girl in the hoodie wasn't just a passenger. She wasn't just rich. She was the bloodline of the empire. But Patricia's pride was a stubborn beast. Instead of admitting defeat, her mind raced for a way out. She couldn't admit she had just terrorized the boss's daughter. She had to double down. It had to be a glitch. Or a hack. Yes, that was it. This girl was a hacker. "It's a computer error," Patricia stammered, her voice shaking. "She must have hacked the system. There is no way. Look at her. She's defrauding the airline on a cyber level." "Hacked the system?" Maya raised an eyebrow. "From the line?" "She's a criminal mastermind." Patricia shrieked, panic taking over. "Officer, arrest her. She's manipulated the flight manifest. That's a federal offense. Take her away." Patricia was pointing, her hand trembling violently. She was digging the hole deeper, shoveling dirt over her own head. "Arrest her now!" Patricia screamed. Officer Kowalski looked at Maya, then at the frantic flight attendant. He reached for his handcuffs. "All right, miss. Hacking a flight computer? That's serious. Turn around." "Wait." A deep voice boomed from the jet bridge door behind the podium. The door swung open. A man in a pilot's uniform stepped out, 4 stripes on his shoulder. Captain David O'Connell. He was a legend at Royal Horizon, a senior captain who had flown Air Force One before going commercial. He looked furious. "Captain?" Patricia gasped, relief washing over her. "Thank God." "Captain? This woman has hacked our manifest and—" Captain O'Connell ignored Patricia entirely. He walked straight past the police officers, straight past the stunned Sarah, and stopped in front of Maya. The entire gate area went silent. The captain took off his hat. He bowed his head slightly. "Miss Sterling," the captain said, his voice respectful and loud enough for everyone to hear. "I received your call. My apologies for the disturbance. We are ready for you." Patricia dropped the microphone. It hit the floor with a deafening thud. The silence in Terminal 4 was heavy, the kind that usually follows a car crash or a public proposal gone wrong. Patricia Caldwell stood frozen, her mouth slightly ajar, looking between Captain O'Connell and the young woman she had just threatened to arrest. The captain's words, "Miss Sterling," hung in the air like smoke. Officer Miller, the burly policeman who had been seconds away from putting Maya in handcuffs, took a slow, deliberate step back. He looked at the captain, then at the girl, and finally at Patricia. The realization hit him like a physical blow. "Sterling?" Miller repeated, his voice dropping an octave. "As in, Arthur Sterling? The owner of the airline?" Maya didn't look at the officer. She kept her eyes trained on Patricia. "My father," she said, her voice calm but carrying a weight that felt like iron. "Though I'm currently the acting director of customer experience, which makes me, technically, your boss's boss's boss." Patricia let out a strangled noise, something between a gasp and a dry heave. Her brain was misfiring. She had spent 20 years curating a mental list of who mattered and who didn't. A black woman in a hoodie and sneakers had registered as nobody so quickly that Patricia hadn't even bothered to look twice. "That's impossible," Patricia stammered, her face patchy with red blotches of panic. "I've met Mr. Sterling. He doesn't have a daughter like you." "Like me?" Maya stepped closer, crossing the invisible line Patricia had tried so hard to defend. "Say that again." "I want the officers to hear it clearly." Patricia shut her mouth. For the first time in her career, she realized that speaking might actually be fatal. Captain O'Connell turned his gaze to the flight attendant. His expression was one of profound disappointment. "Patricia, I've flown with you for a decade. I have never seen such a display. You tore up a passenger's ticket? A valid boarding pass?" "She wouldn't show it to me." Patricia lied, desperate to salvage the narrative. "She was being difficult. I thought it was a security threat. I saw the whole thing, the businessman in the suit, the one who had been standing behind." Maya spoke up. He stepped forward, holding his phone. "I recorded it. The young lady offered her phone to be scanned. This attendant snatched it, deleted the file, and then physically ripped up the paper copy. It was unprovoked aggression. Patricia whipped her head around to glare at the man, but the crowd had turned. People were nodding. Phones were raised. She was being filmed from a dozen angles. "Officers," Maya said, turning to Miller and Kowalski. "Am I under arrest?" "No. No, ma'am," Officer Kowalski said, putting his hands up as if surrendering. "Complete misunderstanding. We were acting on the information given by the airline representative. We apologize profusely." "Good," Maya said. She pointed to the floor. "Then I'd like my boarding pass back." Patricia looked down at the confetti of paper scattered on the dirty carpet. "It's destroyed," Patricia whispered. "Then you'll have to print me a new one," Maya said. "But before you do that, pick up the mess you made. I don't think the cleaning crew should have to deal with your temper tantrum." The terminal went dead quiet. Patricia looked at Sarah, the junior attendant. She silently begged Sarah to do it for her. But Sarah looked away, studying the ceiling tiles with intense fascination. Patricia looked at the captain. He stood with his arms crossed, waiting. Slowly, agonizingly, Patricia Caldwell, the queen of Terminal 4, the terror of economy class, bent her knees. Her uniform skirt was tight, making the movement awkward. She reached down and began picking up the scraps of the boarding pass. Her face burned with a humiliation so intense she felt dizzy. She picked up one piece, then another. A camera shutter clicked nearby, then another. When she had gathered the pile of torn paper, she stood up, clutching the trash in her manicured hand. She walked to the podium, typed in her credentials with shaking fingers, and hit print. The machine whirred. A crisp, new first-class boarding pass slid out. Patricia took it. She held it out to Maya, her hand trembling. She couldn't meet Maya's eyes. "Here?" she choked out. Maya didn't take it immediately. She let Patricia hold it there for a long, uncomfortable moment. "Thank you, Patricia," Maya said softly. She took the ticket. "I'll see you on board. You are working the first-class cabin today, aren't you?" Patricia felt the blood drain from her legs. She was the purser. She was assigned to the front. She would have to serve Maya Sterling for 7 hours across the Atlantic. "Yes," Patricia whispered. "Great," Maya smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I look forward to the service." Maya turned to the captain. "Lead the way, Captain." As Maya walked down the jet bridge, flanked by the pilot, the terminal erupted into whispers. Patricia slumped against the podium, the sound of the crowd feeling like waves crashing over her head. "You really stepped in it this time, Pat," Officer Miller muttered as he walked away. The interior of the Royal Horizon, Boeing 777, was a sanctuary of beige leather and walnut trim. The first-class cabin, known as the Diamond Loft, featured just 8 enclosed suites. It was quiet, smelling of fresh orchids and expensive champagne. Maya settled into Suite 1A. It was a massive space with a lie-flat bed, a 32-inch screen, and a sliding door for total privacy. She dropped her canvas bag on the ottoman and exhaled, the adrenaline of the confrontation finally leaving her body, replaced by a deep, weary ache. She pulled out her phone. "Dad, Arthur Sterling, just had an interesting experience at JFK. Your senior staff needs a refresher on bias training. We'll brief you in London. Don't worry, I handled it." She put the phone away. She didn't want to get Patricia fired, not yet. Maya believed in restorative justice, but she also believed in competence. Patricia was dangerous, not just rude. A shadow fell across her suite. It was Patricia. The flight attendant had recomposed herself. She had reapplied her lipstick and fixed her hair. The fear from the terminal had hardened into something else, resentment. In the galley, away from the cameras and the police, Patricia had convinced herself that she was the victim. "Who does this girl think she is?" Patricia thought. "So what if she's the owner's daughter? She embarrassed me. She made me kneel." Patricia held a silver tray with a glass of champagne and a warm towel. "Pre-departure beverage, Miss Sterling?" Patricia asked. Her voice was sugary sweet, but her eyes were flat and dead. "Sparkling water with lime, please," Maya said, not looking up from her laptop. "The champagne is vintage Dom Perignon." Patricia pressed. "It's complimentary." "I know what it is. I want water." Patricia's jaw tightened. "Of course." She returned a moment later with the water. As she placed it on the side table, the glass accidentally tipped. Ice water splashed onto the edge of Maya's laptop and soaked the sleeve of her cashmere hoodie. "Oh my goodness," Patricia gasped, feigning shock. I am so clumsy today. I am so sorry. Maya pulled her arm back, shaking off the water. She grabbed a napkin and dabbed the laptop. Fortunately, it was just the case. She looked up at Patricia slowly. This wasn't an accident. It was a power move. A petty, small retaliation. Careful, Patricia, Maya said, her voice low. Accidents happen, but patterns are documented. Let me get you some dry towels, Patricia said, bustling away before Maya could say more. In the galley, Sarah was preparing the amenity kits. She looked at Patricia with wide eyes. Pat, did you just spill water on her? Are you insane? She bumped the tray. Patricia lied smoothly, grabbing a stack of napkins. She's clumsy. Probably never been in a suite before, doesn't know how to act. She's the owner's daughter, Pat. She knows how to act better than we do. She's a brat, Patricia hissed, leaning in close to Sarah. Listen to me. Daddy might own the airline, but up here, at 30,000 feet, I am the authority. She humiliated me at the gate. I'm not going to let her walk all over us. You watch. She's going to demand freebies. She's going to act out. We need to document everything. If she causes a disturbance, we can have the police meet the plane in London. Even Arthur Sterling can't ignore a Federal Aviation report. Sarah backed away. I'm not part of this. You're on your own. Fine, Patricia sneered. I'll handle the princess. Back in Suite 1A, Maya dried off her sleeve. She knew exactly what Patricia was doing. It was a game of psychological chicken. Patricia wanted Maya to snap, to yell, to throw a drink. That would give Patricia the ammunition to say, see? She is unruly. Maya opened a new document on her laptop. She titled it, Incident Report, Flight 882, Personnel Review. She began to type. Asterisk 9:45 a.m. Denied boarding based on appearance. Asterisk 9:50 a.m. Destruction of passenger property, boarding pass. Asterisk 10:15 a.m. Intentional spilling of liquid on passenger electronic device. Maya wasn't just a passenger anymore. She was working. The plane pushed back from the gate. The safety video played. As the aircraft taxied to the runway, Maya watched the tarmac roll by. She saw the baggage handlers in their neon vests, the fuel trucks, the mechanics. These were the people her father respected. The people who made the airline run. People like Patricia, who used their tiny sliver of authority to belittle others, were a cancer to the company. The engines roared, and the heavy jet lifted into the gray New York sky. As soon as the seatbelt sign turned off, Patricia was back. Menu, she said, dropping the leather-bound folder onto Maya's lap. It wasn't placed, it was dropped. Thank you, Maya said. We are out of the sea bass, Patricia said immediately. And the beef. You'll have to have the pasta. Maya opened the menu. You're out of the 2 main entrees? We haven't even started service. I'm in seat 1A. Usually, orders are taken front to back. The other passengers pre-ordered? Patricia lied. The pasta is fine, it's vegetarian. Maya looked across the aisle. A gentleman in 1K, an older man reading a newspaper, hadn't even opened his menu yet. Excuse me, Maya said to the man. Sir? Did you pre-order your meal? The man looked up, confused. No, I haven't even looked at the options yet. Maya turned back to Patricia. The flight attendant's face was a mask of stone. I'll have the beef, Maya said. Medium rare. I told you, it's unavailable, Patricia insisted. Check the galley again, Maya said. Or shall I ask Sarah to check? Patricia snatched the menu back. I'll check, she spat. She stormed back to the galley. She was shaking with rage. She pulled a beef entree from the chiller. There were plenty. She shoved it into the oven, slamming the door. I hate her, Patricia muttered to the coffee maker. I hate her. She took out her phone. It was against regulations to use it during work, but she didn't care. She texted her union rep friend. Nightmare passenger in 1A. Owner's daughter. Abusive to crew. Trying to get me fired. Need advice. She put the phone away and looked at the beef cooking in the oven. A dark thought crossed her mind. A very dark thought. Maybe the beef accidentally falls on the floor before it hits the plate. Maybe it gets a little extra salt. She shook her head. No, too risky. Cameras. But she could make the flight miserable in other ways. She could ignore the call button. She could clatter dishes. She could ensure Maya Sterling never flew Royal Horizon again without dread. Patricia fixed her smile. It was a shark smile. She walked back out into the aisle. 2 hours into the flight, the cabin was dimmed. Most passengers were sleeping or watching movies. Maya was connected to the in-flight Wi-Fi, reviewing spreadsheets. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. Then it buzzed again. Then it started vibrating continuously. She picked it up. A notification from Twitter, X, then Instagram, then a text from her best friend, Chloe. Chloe, girl, you are trending. Oh my God. Maya frowned. She opened the link Chloe sent. It was a TikTok video. The caption read, Karen flight attendant destroys ticket of innocent girl at JFK. You won't believe who she is. Karma Royal Horizon flight nightmare. Maya pressed play. The video was shaky, filmed by the businessman in the terminal. It showed Patricia ripping the ticket. It captured the audio perfectly. I don't need to scan a fake ticket to know you're in the wrong place. Clothes don't determine the ticket. Get out of my line. The video cut to the arrival of the captain. The reveal. Miss Sterling. And the final shot of Patricia on her knees, picking up the paper. The video had been posted an hour ago. It already had 2.4 million views. The comments were brutal. Asterisk at Flyboy99. I know that attendant. Patricia. She was rude to my grandma last year. Finally, she gets what she deserves. Asterisk at Justice Warrior. Imagine tearing up a ticket because someone is wearing a hoodie. The racism jumped out. Asterisk at Avgeek. That's Arthur Sterling's daughter? That flight attendant is done. Maya sat back. She hadn't intended for this to go public so fast. She looked up. Patricia was walking down the aisle, doing a cabin check. She looked oblivious. She didn't know the world outside the metal tube was currently sharpening its pitchforks. Maya felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and pity. Patricia was walking around like she was the queen of the sky, unaware that her reign had ended an hour ago on the ground. But then, things got complicated. The Wi-Fi on the plane was fast. Other passengers were waking up. The businessman in the lounge, who was sitting in seat 2F, was watching the video on his screen. He looked over at Maya and gave her a subtle thumbs up. But Patricia noticed the look. She saw the businessman whispering to his neighbor. She saw passengers looking at their phones, then looking at her, then whispering again. Paranoia set in. What are they saying? Why are they looking at me? Patricia walked past suite 2F. She glanced at the passenger's screen. She saw herself. She saw the video. Her blood ran cold. They filmed it. She rushed back to the galley, pulling the curtain shut with a violent yank. She grabbed her phone again. She opened the app. There she was. Millions of views. The comments were calling for her head. They were tagging the airline. They were tagging the CEO. No, 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 Patricia hyperventilated. She gripped the counter. This wasn't just a reprimand. This was her pension. This was her life. She needed to fix this. She needed to change the narrative now. Her mind, twisted by panic and narcissism, landed on a desperate plan. The video showed her being rude. Yes. But if she could prove that Maya was abusive on the plane, that Maya had retaliated and endangered the flight, then Patricia could claim she was the victim of a vindictive heiress. She could claim she was being harassed. She needed an incident, a real one. Patricia looked around the galley. She saw the first-class silverware, heavy, sharp knives. She grabbed a napkin. She wrapped a silver steak knife in it. She marched out to the aisle. She walked to Maya's suite. Maya was typing. Miss Sterling? Patricia said, her voice trembling, but loud. Loud enough to wake people up. Maya took off her noise-canceling headphones. Yes? I need you to open your bag, Patricia demanded. Maya blinked. Excuse me? We are missing a silver steak knife from the inventory, Patricia announced, her voice rising to a shrill pitch. I saw you put something in your bag earlier. I need to search it. The cabin fell silent. The businessman in 2F paused his movie. Patricia, Maya said calmly, stop. You don't want to do this. You think because you're the owner's daughter you can steal from the airline? Patricia shouted. She was committed now. She had to be. Open the bag, or I will have the captain authorize a search. I didn't take anything, Maya said. And you are creating a disturbance. I am securing the cabin. Patricia lunged forward, reaching for Maya's Hermes bag on the ottoman. Don't touch my bag, Maya warned, putting a hand over it. She has a weapon, Patricia screamed, jumping back and colliding with the suite wall. She has a knife. Help. Security. It was a performance of madness. Patricia was trying to frame Maya for theft and assault in one go. The curtains between business and first class whipped open. Sarah ran in. "What is happening?" "She has a knife," Patricia yelled, pointing a shaking finger at Maya. "She tried to stab me. She stole the silverware." Maya stood up. She was done sitting. She stood to her full height. She didn't look at Patricia. She looked at the passengers who were peering over the walls of their suites. "Sarah," Maya said, her voice cutting through Patricia's hysterics like a laser. "Please go to the flight deck. Tell Captain O'Connell that the purser is suffering from a mental health crisis and has accused a passenger of armed assault. Tell him to come back here immediately. And bring the restraints." "No," Patricia shrieked. "Restrain her." "Sarah, go," Maya commanded. Sarah looked at Patricia's wild eyes, then at the calm authority of Maya Sterling. There was no choice. Sarah ran for the cockpit. "You're ruining everything," Patricia sobbed, dropping the act, the fear finally overtaking the malice. "You ruined my life." "You ruined it yourself, Patricia," Maya said. "Now, sit down, before you make it worse." Patricia collapsed onto the jump seat, burying her face in her hands. But the drama wasn't over. Because in the world of high-altitude travel, when the captain leaves the cockpit, things get serious. And Captain O'Connell was not coming back to chat. He was coming back to restore order to his ship. And he wasn't alone. Captain David O'Connell did not run. Pilots do not run. But he moved with a speed and intensity that signaled a crisis. He swept through the curtain separating the galley from the first-class cabin, his presence instantly filling the small space. He was followed by his first officer, a stern man named Miller, no relation to the police officer, and Sarah, who looked as though she was vibrating with anxiety. The scene that greeted them was surreal. Maya Sterling, the acting director of customer experience and heir to the Royal Horizon Empire, was standing by her seat, looking calm but wary. Patricia Caldwell, the veteran purser, was slumped on the crew jump seat, her chest heaving, tears streaming down her face, pointing an accusing finger at Maya. "She has a knife," Patricia screamed again as soon as she saw the captain. "She stole a silver steak knife. She threatened to stab me." "You have to arrest her, Captain. You have to divert the plane." Captain O'Connell looked at Maya. "Miss Sterling, is this true?" "No, Captain," Maya said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were clenched at her sides. "Patricia demanded to search my bag. I refused. She then accused me of theft and assault. I have not moved from this spot." "She hid it," Patricia shrieked. "It's in her bag. I saw her take it." The captain turned to Patricia. His face was unreadable, a mask of professional detachment. "Patricia, you are claiming a passenger, Miss Sterling, stole a knife from the meal service tray?" "Yes, I counted the silverware. One is missing." "And you saw her take it?" "Yes, with my own eyes." Captain O'Connell nodded slowly. He turned to the first officer. "Mr. Miller, please ask the passengers in 1K and 2F what they witnessed." The businessman in 2F didn't wait to be asked. He stood up. "Captain, I've been watching the whole thing." The flight attendant came out of the galley screaming. "The young lady never touched the silverware. In fact, she hasn't even been served her meal yet because the attendant refused to serve her." Patricia's eyes darted around the cabin. The walls were closing in. "He's lying. They're working together." "Enough," O'Connell said. His voice was not loud, but it had the finality of a gavel strike. "Patricia, stand up." Patricia stood, her legs wobbling. "Captain, you have to believe me. I am the purser. I am protecting the flight. If a knife is missing," O'Connell said, "we must find it. It is a security risk." "It's in her bag," Patricia insisted, pointing at the vintage Hermes duffel. "Maya," O'Connell said softly, "may we?" "Go ahead," Maya said. She unzipped the bag and turned it upside down on the ottoman. Clothes, a laptop charger, a toiletry bag, and a book tumbled out. No knife. Patricia stared at the pile of items. She must have hidden it in the seat. Or flushed it. "Search the seat," O'Connell ordered Sarah. Sarah quickly checked the cushions, the gaps, the floor. Nothing. The silence in the cabin was deafening. The only sound was the hum of the engines and Patricia's jagged breathing. "Patricia," the captain said, his voice dropping to a dangerous low. "Where is the knife?" "I don't know. She made it disappear. She's a witch." Maya stepped forward. She looked at the captain. "Captain, Before you search the rest of the plane, check Patricia's apron. Patricia froze. Her hands flew to the pockets of her navy blue serving apron. What? Patricia gasped. How dare you? I am the victim. Check the apron, Maya repeated. Specifically the right side pocket. I saw a flash of silver when she lunged at me. Captain O'Connell extended his hand. Patricia, empty your pockets. No, this is harassment. I will sue. Patricia, O'Connell said, stepping into her personal space. Empty your pockets. That is a direct order from the pilot in command. Trembling violently, Patricia reached into her right pocket. She pulled out a handful of napkins, and wrapped inside them, gleaming under the cabin lights, was a silver steak knife. The entire cabin gasped. Patricia looked at the knife in her hand as if it were a venomous snake. She had put it there to plant it. She had intended to slip it into Maya's bag during the struggle. But Maya hadn't let her touch the bag. In her panic, she had forgotten it was still on her person. I found this, Patricia stammered, her voice barely a whisper. I was securing it. You said it was missing, O'Connell said. You said you saw her steal it. I was confused. The stress. Patricia Caldwell, Captain O'Connell said, his voice cold as ice. You have falsified a security threat. You have assaulted a passenger's character. And you have compromised the safety of this flight. He turned to the first officer. Mr. Miller, restrain her. What? Patricia screamed. No, you can't. I've worked here for 20 years. And this is your last day, O'Connell said. Miller produced a pair of plastic flex cuffs, the tough ties used for unruly passengers. Usually, these were reserved for drunks or violent offenders. Never, in the history of Royal Horizon, had they been used on a purser. Turn around, Patricia, Miller said. No, don't touch me. Patricia flailed, swinging her arms. That is assault on a crew member, O'Connell noted. Add it to the log. Miller and Sarah grabbed Patricia's arms. She fought them, kicking and screaming, her bun coming undone, her makeup smearing. The facade of the elegant flight attendant was gone, revealing the terrified, hateful bully beneath. They wrestled her into the jump seat, the very seat she usually sat in to judge others. Miller zipped the cuffs tight around her wrists behind her back. Then, for good measure, they strapped her in with the safety harness across her chest. She sat there, trussed up like a prisoner, facing the first-class cabin. Sarah, O'Connell said, you are now acting purser. Ensure Miss Sterling gets her meal and anything else she requires. Yes, Captain, Sarah said, her voice shaking but relieved. O'Connell turned to Maya. Miss Sterling, I am deeply sorry. We will radio ahead to Heathrow. The police will meet the aircraft. Thank you, Captain, Maya said. She looked at Patricia. Patricia was sobbing now, messy, loud sobs. Please, don't let them arrest me. I have a pension. Please. Maya looked at her, and for a second, she felt a twinge of pity. But then she remembered the torn ticket, the riffraff comment, the fake knife accusation. You didn't just try to ruin my flight, Patricia, Maya said quietly. You tried to send me to jail. You tried to ruin my life. You don't get a pension for that. Maya closed the door to her suite. She sat in the silence, her heart pounding. She didn't feel triumphant. She felt exhausted. She opened her laptop. She had a report to finish, and a father to call. The descent into London Heathrow was bumpy. The grey clouds of England swallowed the plane, buffeting the wings. But inside Suite 1A, Maya was steeling herself for what was to come. She hadn't slept. For the last 4 hours of the flight, she had listened to Patricia muttering and crying in the jump seat just outside her door. It was a pathetic soundtrack to a luxury flight. When the wheels touched the tarmac with a screech and a thud, the reality of the situation set in. The plane slowed, taxiing past the endless rows of British Airways and Virgin Atlantic jets. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to London, Sarah announced over the PA, her voice trembling slightly. Please remain seated, with your seatbelts fastened. We have been asked by local authorities to keep all passengers on board until they have boarded the aircraft. Usually, this announcement causes groans. Today, it caused a hush of anticipation. Everyone knew why. The plane parked at the gate. The jet bridge connected. But the door didn't open for the passengers. Instead, 3 officers from the Metropolitan Police bobbies in high-visibility jackets marched onto the plane, led by a stern-faced sergeant. They were accompanied by a Royal Horizon station manager who looked like he was about to have a heart attack. Captain O'Connell met them at the door. He pointed to the jump seat. "That is the individual," O'Connell said. "Patricia Caldwell, charged with interference with a flight crew, falsifying a security report, and attempted assault." The officers approached Patricia. She looked small, deflated. The fight had left her hours ago. "Patricia Caldwell?" the sergeant asked. "Yes," she whispered. "I am arresting you on suspicion of endangering an aircraft and filing a false report. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defense if you do not mention, when questioned, something which you later rely on in court." They cut the flex cuffs only to replace them with metal handcuffs. As they hauled her up, Patricia looked around the cabin one last time. She saw the passengers staring at her, not with admiration, but with disgust and pity. She looked for Maya. Maya was standing in the doorway of Suite 1A, holding her repaired bag. Patricia stopped. She opened her mouth to say something, an apology, a curse, but no words came out. She just hung her head. The police escorted her off the plane. As she walked down the aisle of business class, someone started a slow clap. Then someone else joined in. It wasn't a cheer of joy, it was a clap of dismissal. The passengers were applauding her removal. Once she was gone, the captain nodded to Maya. "Miss Sterling, you are free to deplane first." Maya walked out. The cool air of the jet bridge hit her face. Waiting at the end of the tunnel, standing next to a black Range Rover on the tarmac, a privilege reserved for the highest VIPs, was Arthur Sterling. He was a tall man, imposing, with the same sharp eyes as his daughter. He wore a wool overcoat and held a tablet. Maya walked down the stairs to the tarmac. She stopped in front of him. "Dad," she said. Arthur looked at her. He pulled her into a tight hug. "I saw the video," he said. "It's on CNN. It's on the BBC. It's everywhere." "I handled it," Maya said into his coat. "You did more than handle it," Arthur said, pulling back to look at her. "You exposed a rot in the company that I was too blind to see. I trusted the seniority system too much." He opened the door to the car for her. "We have a board meeting in 2 hours. But first, the lawyers want a statement. And the police want your testimony." "What about Patricia?" Maya asked as they climbed into the leather interior of the car. Arthur's face hardened. "Patricia Caldwell has been terminated, effective immediately. We are stripping her of her flight benefits, we are pressing charges for the damage to the brand. And I am personally ensuring that she is blacklisted from every airline in the Star Alliance, Oneworld, and SkyTeam. She will never work in aviation again, not even selling peanuts at a kiosk." Maya looked out the window as the car sped away from the plane. She watched the massive Boeing 777 sitting there, a machine of wonder that had been turned into a cage by one woman's prejudice. 3 years later, Maya Sterling stood at the podium of the Global Aviation Summit in Dubai. She was now the CEO of Royal Horizon Airlines. Under her leadership, the airline had rebranded. They had implemented the Caldwell Protocol, a rigorous, zero-tolerance training program on bias and conflict de-escalation, named ironically after the woman who inspired it. The airline's stock was at an all-time high. Maya was on the cover of Forbes. After her speech, she went to the airport to catch her flight home. She walked through the terminal, flanked by her security. She stopped at a fast food burger chain in the food court to grab a bottle of water. The woman behind the counter was wearing a paper hat and a grease-stained uniform. She looked older, tired, the lines on her face etched deep by stress. "That will be $3, the woman said without looking up. Maya recognized the voice. It was raspy now, stripped of its haughty cadence, but she knew it. "Keep the change," Maya said, handing over a $10 bill. The woman looked up. It was Patricia. Her eyes widened. She froze, the cash in her hand. She looked at Maya's tailored suit, her confidence, her peace. Then she looked down at her own greasy apron. There were no words exchanged. There was nothing left to say. The universe had balanced the scales. Maya turned and walked away, heading toward the first-class lounge. She didn't look back. She had a plane to catch. And that is how the Queen of Terminal 4 lost her crown. Patricia thought she was untouchable because of a uniform, but she forgot the golden rule of life. Treat everyone with respect, because you never know who you're talking to. Maya Sterling didn't just win a fight, she changed an entire airline culture. It's a brutal lesson in karma, but a necessary one. Wealth doesn't always look like diamonds, and power doesn't always shout. Sometimes, power is just a quiet woman in a hoodie who knows exactly who she is. What do you think? Did Patricia deserve to lose her pension and be banned for life, or was that too harsh? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this story of justice served cold, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And if you want more stories about karma hitting back instantly, subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a video. I'll see you in the next one. Stay humble.